So the Packers lose to the Philadelphia Eagles 10-7. And once again, the Packers offense struggles. And I had been hoping, I honestly expected for them to bounce back after a poor showing last week. I was thinking to myself that, you have 2 bad games offensively all season. The other 6 games, you scored 27 plus points. It felt like this would be the game where the Packers got things right in Lambeau Field, coming in, playing against, defending Super Bowl champs, that this offense would come in with a little bit more firepower, maybe not make as many mistakes as last week against a team that the Packers 100% should have beat. But once again, we have the exact same result. And when you have something happen, 1 time, 2 times, it's like, okay, maybe the Packers will figure things out. I'll give this Packers team a chance offensively to get things going. But now we have back-to-back weeks in another game once again where this Packers offense just struggles to do pretty much anything all game long. You do have to factor in Tucker Kraft being down, the Packers having to figure out what to do without him out there. Elton Jenkins goes down with an injury. Romeo Doubs goes down late. But still, 7 points in an NFL game is just not going to cut it. And it was, 0 points until the fourth quarter, later in the fourth quarter. And so this is a major problem for this Packers team, because if they're going to keep playing like this offensively, there's no chance they can go in a deep playoff run. They have to fix this offense. And coming into this week, the Packers were the number 1 team in the NFL in yards per pass. And the decision early on was clearly for Matt LaFleur to focus on the run. And the first 16 plays, I typed it here in my phone just so I would remember this here. But in the first 16 plays, there were 4 passes and 12 runs called. And that's one thing if, your rushing attack has been dominant this year. And I get sticking with the run. You don't want to make your team one-dimensional to where teams have you figured out. But when a lot of this season, the Packers offensive line struggles blocking the run, you've struggled compared to last year, where the Packers offense last year running the ball, one of the most productive teams rushing the ball last year. This season, that has not been the case. And so to start off just pounding the rock time and time again, I just didn't love that decision by Matt LaFleur. And looking at the end of this game, Josh Jacobs averages 3.5 yards a carry. The Packers finished 3.9 yards per carry overall, helped by 5 rushes from Jordan Love for 28 yards. And 3.5 yards, also not going to cut it. And that's not on Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is a very talented running back. And I just think that even in the past even last year too, the Packers' run blocking just has not been very good. And today, I think one of the main reasons the Packers' offense struggled was because the offensive line was just making a ton of mistakes. You have, Aaron Banks getting beat multiple times on the left side. You have a false start on that. I think it was a 4th and 1. You have on that 4th and 1 late in the game when LaFleur decides to run it, the Eagles' defensive line just overpowering the Packers' offensive line. When your offensive line gets overpowered like that, it's going to be hard to find any type of success. And so that's where I feel like when you're consistently running the ball, 3.5 yards a carry, closer to 4 yards a carry. Last year, I think the Packers were at 4.7. It's just going to be really hard to win games. The Packers are trying to move the ball like this. And it does feel like in those moments where the Packers have to get things going, they have to, rely on the pass. It feels like things work a little bit better. Now today, the pocket was collapsing around Love a lot. There were times, even Troy Aikman's noting that there are certain guys who are open and Love didn't find them. So I do think part of it at times is on Jordan Love. Part of it's on the offensive line. There are other moments. You have Dontavian Wicks dropping a pass late in the game. You have Bo Melton dropping a pass on 4th and 9, with LaFleur being very aggressive once again, which I honestly don't think that was a great call. A great decision to go for it on 4th and 9. I think that's a little too risky, but it should have worked out. Bo Melton should have caught that pass. And so I think the common theme we're seeing with this Packers offense, because this defense dominated, I'll get to that in a second, but so many mistakes. In the one play, I think it was the 4th and 1 play, if I'm not mistaken right now, where I think Wicks, it was illegal formation, I'm pretty sure. Then you have Josh Jacobs fumbling it. It seemed to me like he was maybe trying to pitch it or something, because it was almost the game, except the Packers did get the ball back. But this offense is too inconsistent. There's too many penalties, too many missed blocks, too many, being in the wrong spot. And it just feels like this team is pretty undisciplined with everything going on here. And a lot of that does fall on the head coach and Matt LaFleur. And if you guys watched some of my videos last week, I did say that I thought Matt LaFleur was getting too much criticism after this past game. Not that I thought that he didn't deserve any. I definitely think he did. But after last game, I wasn't thinking LaFleur needs to go. LaFleur needs to give up the play calling. And I'm not saying I'm at that point yet. But when you have another game like this happen, you score 7 points. Of course, more of the criticism and blame needs to be put on Matt LaFleur, because I honestly expected this team to bounce back. I thought that when you have such a bad loss like that, I feel like I thought they would come in and just be able to sort of leave that in the past. Maybe that was a one-off game, but I was totally wrong. This was not a one-off game. They put up 7 points. I predicted the Packers to win 27-24. I was totally wrong. So this has to be cleaned up, and it's no longer just a one-off. It did happen against the Browns as well. It has happened all year in the first half. The Packers have been really bad first half. Going into this week, they're number 1 in points scored in the second half per game. But today, I mean, they weren't able to get things going in the second half. And it's pretty wild that even though the Packers offense played so poorly, they were still in it in the end. I can't believe the Eagles went for it on that fourth down. Instead of taking the points, they gave the Packers an opportunity. They almost get in the field goal range, not quite. You have 5 seconds left. You put McManus out there. He gets that little free kickoff. It looks like he misses it. LaFleur sends Love out to maybe get a few yards to get a little closer. And then McManus goes out, just totally shanks it. He was probably trying to get a ton of power on it. Totally misses it. And in that moment, I was thinking, man, Haversick maybe would have had more of a chance here. And I went into this week, wanting McManus to still be the kicker because he's been consistent. But when it comes to a guy off a quad injury and you're kicking a 60-something yard field goal, considering Haversick does have, the Packers record at 61, it would have been nice there to potentially have him instead. Maybe he makes that. I don't know. But I just think with that length of field goal, maybe Haversick has a better opportunity there. I don't know. That was sort of my thinking in the moment there, even though I do think, McManus had been consistent last year, but now maybe there's some questions there. But, that's what, a 64, 65-yarder. I don't blame him a ton for missing that one. But it's just unfortunate that this Packers defense is playing as good as they've played. And I feel like in all the losses this season, against the Browns early on, against the Panthers last week, against the Eagles this week, they've been so dominant. And it's 100% the fault of the Packers offense, because you hold the Philadelphia Eagles, defending Super Bowl champs, to only 10 points. It was pure domination by the defense. And the sad thing is that this defensive performance is going to be completely overshadowed by how bad the offense was. And it's completely understandable. I think it should be that way because that's the reason you lost this game. But this defense is legit. It's one of the best units in the NFL. You hold Saquon Barkley to 2.7 yards per carry. 22 carries for 60 yards at 2.7 yards a carry. You hold Jalen Hurts to 183 yards, 1 TD, 0 picks. You pretty much shut them down all game long. You hold A.J. Brown, 2 receptions, 13 yards. This Packers defense is legit. Carrington Valentine played one of the best games of his entire career. He was flying around, all around the ball, locking up his guys. Keyshawn Nixon, for the most part, was playing really well too. Pass breakups. This defense tonight was incredible. So if there's one positive here, it's that this Packers defense is legit. And the fact that you can do this against the best of the best, a team that just won a Super Bowl, that's definitely a positive. And after last week, struggling against the Panthers on the ground, with the Packers running defense struggling against Rico Dowdle, this week they dominate against one of the best running backs in the entire NFL. So that's good to see them bounce back there. It's good to see them, for the most part, shut down Jalen Hurts and only hold them to 10 points. And I feel like, 9 times out of 10, if you hold a team in the NFL to only 10 points, you are going to win the game. And so the Packers have a lot to figure out here. Now sitting at 5-3-1, they have... you go from 5-1-1 2 weeks ago to now losing back-to-back games. Things are shifting here. And that's where, in my mind, as I said, one loss to the Panthers, it's like, okay, maybe that's a fluke. I sort of saw it as a game where, yes, it wasn't good, but I thought they would bounce back offensively. And that was not the case. And so we're going to get to a point here, next week. I'm pretty sure it's the Giants, if I'm not mistaken. The Packers offense has to get things figured out. And it just feels to me like with the way this Packers offensive line is blocking against the run, with the way that they're just sort of getting beat a lot, with Aaron Banks getting beat on the left side, I just don't know about, the focus of this team being the running game, even though Josh Jacobs is legit. I know you just can't abandon it totally, but for it to be, your bread and butter, it feels like it needs to work better than it's been working for the Packers. And I feel like in those moments when you sort of put it all on Jordan Love, sure, he's not perfect. Sure, tonight he had some misses, but I feel like you sort of have to go the way of Jordan Love. Give Jordan Love the ball, allow him to, win the game or lose the game. I think on the 4th and 1, I get running the ball on 4th and 1, 1 yard, you think, okay, we can get it. But it may be better. I mean, when you contemplate just the issues we've seen from this run blocking this season, I may rather take my chance with Jordan Love, finding someone open, escaping the pocket, running for a first down than what we've seen from this Packers, running game, offensive line. And I was rewatching the play a second ago before I started this video, that 4th and 1 play, and the Eagles' defensive line just totally dominated the Packers' offensive line on that one. Just got there quickly, and so this is a tough game. It's a tough game. 10-7. I was sitting there watching that game and I'm like, 0 points. Do we seriously have 0 points right now in the third quarter? I mean, it's just I'm honestly sort of in shock right now that this is actually the case here, and making this trade for Micah Parsons if you're the Packers and the expectations, what I thought this team could be, they're not going to get anywhere near that if this offense does not get solved. And so it comes down to Matt LaFleur figuring things out. I think that there's been so much, inconsistency on offense just from the penalties, from the missed blocks, just lining up in the wrong spot. I mean, it just feels like so many mistakes that should have been solved by this point in the season. 9 games in, it just looks like a team that at times is just super undisciplined, playing sloppy football, and this is not going to cut it if the Packers want to go on a run and be a legit team. So something has to change, and at least for me right now, I'll think about this more in the next day or so. It's right after the game, but I feel like you just sort of have to let Jordan Love try to carry this team, just because, he's a guy you're paying a ton of money. He's a guy that can make great things happen. And, he almost in the end there, he almost gets you into field goal range. I get the receivers are down. I get Tucker Kraft is down. But, something has to change. But I'll be curious to hear your thoughts in the comment section. As always, if you want more Packers content, feel free to subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.